Yo, what up, guys? I am not kidding about the title. I did get a strike on this video. So, I'm deciding to re-upload it with some edits. Stay tuned for next week since I'm gonna push the Pochita and Fake Man video a week, you know? It was gonna come out this week, but, this happened. It's like 2 a.m. right now. uh, yeah, just in case this video does get taken down, that's why I am gonna push back the Pochita and Fake video. Um, this shouldn't get taken down because it contains images that were transformative, and this is different, and it isn't like straight up from, reading the manga. They have different edits, and I'm putting a little filter on them. Well, it's not really a filter, but you know what I mean. Uh, I'm like basically doing this because I'm, very, very spiteful, and I'm a spiteful man. I don't really know what I'm doing. It's 2 a.m., like I said. Please continue to support my channel. Seriously, please. I kind of just want to do this because I want to, and I hope this video does better. um, 5K views down the drain. Yippee! Here's a warning though. I'm just doing this because probably will help me out if this does get copyright stricken. This video is for entertainment purposes. This is not a substitute for the real manga. So go read the real manga legally, by the way, like on Shonen Jump. Well, on the Shonen Jump app and other stuff. I'm pretty sure it's available. I use the Shonen Jump app. This video is actually transformative. So if you have a problem, Shueisha, yeah, there's the warning. Don't take it down, please. Let's just start the video. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Red here with an impromptu video. And I was right. Kinda. I'll explain. Just make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave a like. I really need the support and I really appreciate it. Also, the Pochita and Fake video might come out next week. The one that you guys voted for. This video is definitely gonna be messy and crazy, and I don't know, I'm still trying to get my head wrapped around all this stuff from chapter 198. Anyways, let's just get into it. Nothing could have prepared me for chapter 198. Like, I thought that she was Death and Fami was Famine, but it turns out that she's Fami and she's Death. So what in the hell happened? Well, Death was straight up just pretending to be Fami/Famine. Not only was her disguise perfect for the readers, she also tricked Fake Man. This guy thought the real Fami was Death, like all of us. Death even tricked her other two sisters and everyone else. Like what the hell? I knew Fujimoto was the GOAT, but I did not expect Fake Fami to be Death. I mean, like I said, I predicted that quote-unquote Fami was gonna be the real big bad. In my Fami video, and even in my Nostradamus video, I predicted that Fami and Yoru will be bad, while quote-unquote Death, or who we thought was Death at the time, though technically I made the video before the appearance of the real Famine Devil, but whatever. So, where do we go from here? Yeah, I see it. Fake Fami is Death, and it's all so clear now. So let's just get on with the beginning. Fami, or the real Death Devil, which is what I'll be calling her now, she's Death after all, first appeared in chapter 108, 10 chapters after the beginning of part 2, by the way. Obviously, at that time, she called Yoru her little sister, and Nayuto was alive, so she could only be two devils, Famine or Death. But in chapter 113, Death calls herself Famine/Fami. So we obviously didn't have a reason to doubt her. Well, outside that, she's a devil. But then we get the Nostradamus prophecy in chapter 122, saying that Death will appear in July. And even Yoshida calls Death the Famine Devil. Well, alright, we were just lied to. So now that the reveal happened in chapter 198, was there any evidence to point that fake Fami was the Death Devil? Well, even in her introduction, she said this. She asked Asa if she wants to save Yuko, and she has the ability to save her, aka revive her. Plus, Death would have known Yuko through the Fire Devil, which was one of her pawns, and it was the one to give Yuko her powers by pretending to be the Justice Devil. Death almost practically revealed her real identity right there. And that's not all. In chapter 118, Yoru quote-unquote confirms that Death was Famine. However, Yoru said that she didn't recognize her, but that it was a long time since they saw each other. So that was her excuse as to why she didn't recognize Death. Also, Yoru called Famine crazy, and you know, seeing the real Fami, I kinda get it. Fami do be crazy. Anyways, in chapter 122, Yoshida called her name of Fami or Kiga as a bad name since she was supposedly Famine. Death then said this. She didn't care if her identity got exposed. Do you wanna know why? Well, she just didn't give a fuck about being called the Famine Devil because she wasn't the Famine Devil. She's Death. She just doesn't care. She's the strongest devil in the world, and it all works into her favor to hide her identity since they would think that she's Famine and not the literal world-ending devil. And in the same chapter, Yoshida talks about Nostradamus' prophecy and the Death Devil, and how Public Safety used the Future Devil to see that 23 out of 30 inmates will die in July. And you know, Death's response? It's this. She just didn't care. I thought before, and I think I also said this in my Fami video, which was that she didn't care cause her real goal was to beat Death so that she could take over and be the real bad guy. Well, it turns out that she didn't care because she's Death. She's the reason why those guys die. Not only that, she knew that the other 7 inmates would die in the week that they are in. You know why? Because this was also the first appearance of the Falling Devil, who is one of Death's pawns since Death released her that day. Not only that, but in chapter 198, Falling returns with the reveal of Fami being the real Death Devil. And the girl that we actually thought was Death was actually Fami / the Famine Devil. Like, what the fuck, man? I made my Fami, now Death Devil, video with all the info we had at that time, which, by the way, was on December 10th. And at that point, Pochita and the Aging Devil were fighting in chapter 186. Technically 185 since 186 barely came out the day I uploaded the video. So it was literally 10 chapters before we even got shown the real Famine Devil. But man, chapter 198 explains a whole lot and gives me a lot more fuel to theorize and stuff. Also, before we get into that, I saw this post on volume 14's cover, the one with the real Death Devil, by the way, shows her standing in front of stained windows, similar to ones that would be in a church. And she's holding her hat down, as if she was in a funeral or wake. But yeah, that's really interesting. It's like Fujimoto was putting up Easter eggs everywhere. It's really crazy to look back at all the stuff, and you could tell that it was hinted by Fujimoto with how the Death Devil reacts to characters talking about her and all that. Not to mention the fact that in chapter 194, when Yoshida and Fumiko were trying to get quote-unquote Fami to help them, she didn't care. Like, at all. She didn't care that July was a month away, and the reason why? Well, she's the Death Devil! She used the school festival as an excuse. If anything, Death knew that her sister, the real Famine Devil, was going to be at school. Death probably wants to recruit her or completely neutralize Famine and the other sisters so that they don't threaten her goal. Death was lying about caring about humanity just so that she could manipulate everyone around her so that she could end the world. And you know what's even worse? Is that the real Famine Devil was talking about savior through death or whatever bullshit she was yapping about. Fujimoto literally made this a red herring and put the bait right in front of us, and guess what? He caught us hook, line, and sinker. But you know what? The quote-unquote Fami being the actual Death Devil kinda explains a bunch. But how did the reveal explain a lot? Well, it's simple. It gives us a reason as to why Death could control such powerful devils like the Fire Devil and the literal primal devil, the Falling Devil. Obviously, Death can control them because she's the strongest devil in Chainsaw Man. She has all those devils as her pawns because she's the strongest. Also, the Death Devil pretended that her abilities needed people to starve because she was, you know, pretending to be Fami. Anyways, in my other video, I explained all the events in part 2 were the cause of the Death Devil, which was Fami at the time. Death was at the center of it all. I knew that, I just didn't know that she was gonna be the real Death Devil. I said that Fami was gonna be the big bad and not the Death Devil, but it turns out that Fami was the Death Devil. She is the big bad, and I just can't believe it. And in my Nostradamus video, which I edited at the end since the girl who was the real Fami got revealed the day I uploaded it, since I talked about the real Death Devil being the big bad, and also Yoru, since Mars will rule by good fortune is a part of the IRL prophecy. I even said that I believe that the Death Devil wasn't going to be a villain because Fami and Yoru were more suspicious. And chapter 195 made it seem that the real Famine Devil wasn't actually a threat. So I was kinda right as well, since at the time there was no reason to believe that the fake Fami was the Death Devil. But now it all makes sense. Fake Fami, or FF, or Foo Fighters, JJBA reference, is Death. She was the one trying to manipulate everything. She wasn't trying to prevent Death's descent, she was purposefully tricking everyone into fulfilling the prophecy. I even said in my Nostradamus video that the way that they're trying to stop the end of the world was inadvertently causing the prophecy to come true. Well, it turns out that FF/Death was doing this on purpose. All the shit that the quote-unquote Fami was doing was to actually speed up the end of the world. Like all the Chainsaw Man church shit was to cause death and destruction. Death told the characters that it was a way to make Chainsaw Man and War be more feared and make them stronger to fight the Death Devil, when in reality, it was to make people more afraid of death. The thing is, Denji and Asa/Yoru aren't a threat to death at all. She was probably doing all that shit to distract them from what she was really doing. Like, Denji and Asa/Yoru couldn't even beat the Falling Devil the first time. They could only run away. But you know who stopped the Falling Devil from continuing? It was Death. Death was in control of the Falling Devil. And if Death is controlling such a powerful devil that not even Denji or Asa could beat her, it just shows that Death is the strongest. But anyways, why was Death hiding as Fami? Well, it's simple. She was trying to control Chainsaw Man and Yoru. Death probably wants to make all her sisters into her pawns. Like, look at the page when Nayuta says she didn't want to help Death, who Nayuta thought was Famine at the time. Look at that stare that Death has. I said it before, I think that was the moment when she wanted to have Nayuta killed. Like, hello? The person who probably killed Nayuta was Barim, aka one of Death's subordinates. If she didn't want Nayuta to die, she would have told Barim not to kill her. Though Nayuta is still alive, no copium, I don't care what volume 20 says, we can't trust the liar named Tatsuki Fujimoto anymore. Anyways, Death was hiding in plain sight, cause you wouldn't expect her to do so. Also, some people are asking, why didn't Yoru know? Well, there's two things that could explain it. I think that Yoru believes all of Death's lies about being Famine. I showed you this page before about how Yoru was talking about how she didn't recognize it was Fami, but she thought it was still Fami. Though, the other reason was that Yoru always knew. Like, during the Eternity Devil Aquarium date, Death took Yoru away from Asa. There, they could probably talk about the truth and stuff, and Yoru probably agreed to work with her. But, I doubt it. Since Asa can definitely know what Yoru is thinking, since in chapter 195, Asa talks about all the messed up shit that Yoru is planning on doing. I also doubt that Yoru will be talking like that about Fami if she knew that she was actually Death the whole time. Death, in my opinion, was able to completely hide herself, since, you know, she's the strongest, and she didn't want anyone else to know her real identity, aside from her devil pawns. Nayuta 100% believed that she was Fami and not Death as well. Plus, with the help of the Fire Devil, Death could just disguise herself. So, theory time? Well, my theories are all the same. Fami will be the big bad. So, in this case, Death Devil will be the big bad. I think that the whole prophecy is inevitable. People will die. I also said this before about the Devil, but in my opinion, I think it will be like the beast in the Book of Revelation, which is also where the 4 horsemen come from. And that Death will play the role of the mother harlot who rides the beast. Like, Death and the Devil will be working together to destroy stuff. But what happens after? Well, one theory is Death wins. I don't know, Death kills everyone and that's it. However, just like in the Book of Revelation, after the fight between heaven and hell, a new heaven and earth will form after. So in the end, it will be revealed that the world goes through a loop and cycles of birth and rebirth, with everything repeating the exact same, or things change and each loop is slightly different from the other. I personally think that's a bit too far-fetched, but at this point, everything could happen after the whole Death Devil twist. My other theory about how they defeat death is simple. Pochita eats the Devil Devil. All devils get erased from existence, and the world turns to normal and people forget that devils exist. Happy ending while all the devils, even the good ones, die. Also, I do have theories about Pochita's identity, but I'm gonna save those for my next video, which you guys voted on, so stay tuned for probably next week. But the Pochita eating the Devil Devil theory leads to my little side theory. After all that happens, the world is actually pretty messed up since the order of things doesn't work anymore. Which leads into the Fire Punch world. That's right, Fire Punch takes place after Chainsaw Man. How do I know this, you might ask? Well, Star Wars. Yeah, Star Wars is kinda important, since the Ice Witch from Fire Punch said that she wants to recreate civilization to the point where civilization will make Star Wars again. Yeah, she also said that the last Star Wars movie ended in a cliffhanger, and that the sequel stopped production. But you know what? The Phantom Menace came out in May 19, 1999. Which literally just passed in Chainsaw Man since it's June 1999. Bam! Chronologically, all the terrible events in Fire Punch like the Ice Age happened after Chainsaw Man. Well, probably. Okay, I'm adding this after I recorded everything else because I went on Twitter and saw this other theory. Here's the screenshot. So I thought it would be really interesting to talk about, so thanks Spaghetti. Yeah, it's totally possible that Death could actually love humanity. And what she's doing right now is stopping famine from killing people since the real Fami is on all that salvation from death spiel or whatever. So maybe Death actually wants to try to save humanity and she's seriously planning to help Chainsaw Man and Yoru kill her to save humanity from herself. I think it's kind of reasonable, and if you know Fujimoto, you know he writes twist on twist on twist, so that this chapter could be a misdirection or something. But I don't know, tell me what you think. I still think that this Death Devil is actually a bad and evil devil. Anyways, that's all I have. I basically made this video with all the thoughts in my head and all the stuff that I just wanted to talk about and wanted to express to all of you guys. And maybe I'll make another one since I'm still reeling in my thoughts. Like, seriously, I woke up, read the new chapter, and just laid there. And then I had to make this video. Like, I got so much inspiration that this is why I made this video so fast. I'm clearing everything in my schedule to make this video and upload it as soon as possible. And if I missed anything or you guys want to point out anything else, please leave it in the comments below. If you guys do that, I could probably make a better, more definitive video. But I just wanted to yap all about this, man. I'm not even sure that this video will be coherent at all, and hopefully you guys understand what I'm trying to say, but I'm just so hyped for this shit. I don't even know, so thanks for watching.